video tools for architecture are starting to take off. And yes, some of them still look like they were rendered after smoking something pretty wild. But hey, there's real promise. New tools are popping up every week. And what looked like a glitch fest of melting buildings 6 months ago is now starting to show shape, light, and even coherence. Today, I'm showing you the best AI tools I've found for video rendering from image to video. Come watch it with me. The premises for this video are the following. I tested the different AI tools with the very same prompts and in different categories, let's say that, which are exterior, interior, then an exterior but really modern and with a lot of people, which is a difficult thing to render. And finally, I tried to do a really hard turn, a 360, or I'll say more of a 180 degrees around the building, which is a tricky one. So I'm going to show you all the different versions of these AI tools. Please take into account that some of them are not considered in all the categories because maybe they don't offer that option at all. So let's begin with the exterior. So this was the image that I was to consider in the exterior. As you can see, this is a brutalist building with a lot of concrete. So the prompt said, a slow, steady dolly in, which is a specific camera movement, approaching a monumental brutalist building under a stormy sky. Why did I say that? Because I wanted to see whether the AIs were able to put in the weather inside to go ahead and change the ambience. So then the camera starts at a wide shot, centers symmetrically on the staircase. Rain drizzles gently as the lens glides forward across the wet concrete plaza, reflecting the moody light. The camera climbs the steps with subtle stabilization, so I wanted it to be stable, maintaining a low-to-ground cinematic perspective. The building's textured concrete facade grows more imposing with every second, drawing the viewer towards the deep shadows of the central entrance. So what I wanted was for it to go on a steady pace towards the entrance and watch the moody weather and the rain and all that around. So drawing the viewers towards the deep shadows. So I didn't want it to change the shadows, okay? And as if being pulled into the architecture itself. That's a little bit poetic there, and was very lighting, dramatic, and immersive. So this was the prompt. This was the image that I got from Midjourney, by the way, and let's see the different results here. So one of the things I did, first of all, is to test it with Sora, because obviously most of us do have ChatGPT already, the paid-for version, so I thought it was worth it. So what did Sora do? It didn't move the camera at all, it just stayed there, and it tried to softly introduce some movement of the clouds and perhaps some rain, which is a little shy there. So I don't think this is the best solution at all, but hey, it's almost free if you have it with your ChatGPT connection already. So there you have Sora. Then we have the runway option. Now runway really stays on the safe side because it doesn't go a lot into the image, okay? It tries to keep safe and steady so that you don't have any deformations here in the building, which is a little bit like cheating, but still gets a good result. However, there's no hint of any rain that we can see. Now, this is the Crea version, and this version will be alright if it wasn't for that part right on the top of the building, which is the forming the windows and overall being a little bit odd, but it does try to do the dolly movement towards the door, and that's something to take into account if you want to consider that. But take into account that it does deform the building. Now, this version I'm showing to you is the one from Kling AI. This tries to go a little bit deeper than the other version of Runway we saw before, and what surprised me was that the materials are really well made. However, there's no rain whatsoever as well, but I think that overall this does not deform the angles and it's a good look. And here is Render's version. Now, as you can see, it has tried to add a little bit of rain, which is a really nice touch after the other versions we saw before. And also, the clouds are moving and we're getting that steady camera movement that we described in the prompt. So overall, I think this is the best solution. And what's more, it doesn't deform the angles from the buildings, which is a really, really nice touch after everything we've seen. So here are the ones that are the 3 best for me, which are runway in 3rd position, then we have cling, and render would be the best in this category. Now for the interior part of this test, I think I was truly evil, because I have here a shot where you can see a beautiful landscape and a kitchen, and there's more of this kitchen furniture on the right hand side. Now, kitchens are one of the worst interiors to render. I even have professional renderers telling me that they don't want to render kitchens, or they charge extra for doing it. Why is that? Well, because when building a house, it's a really compromising area. You really have to model everything with a lot of detail, and that takes a lot of work. And if something doesn't end up being exactly the same in the as-built department, you may encounter problems with the clients, with the end clients. So the prompt was also really quite evil as well. I have something like this. It's smooth arc camera movement. So what I wanted was like a circular arc, okay, to the right. It says starting center on a modern kitchen island with a snowy mountain view through large glass windows. The camera slowly curves right, revealing the warm lit kitchen wall. So what I wanted it to do was to stop focusing on the landscape and had the focus on the kitchen. And it says revealing the warm lit kitchen wall, soft reflections glide on the polished floor as golden under cabinet lighting contrasts with the cool natural light. Yes, because this light is very important for us architects, and we want the video version to keep it because we want everything to be coherent between each other. So, and it says ends with a full side view of the kitchen, highlighting textures, materials, and ambient mood, which will be something really important when working with interiors in architecture. So I wanted to see how the artificial intelligence handled this center island and the kitchen furniture. So let's see the different options. So in this case, Sora, the ChatGPT option, got me 2 options. The first one is pretty conservative, and this is what it does. It just moves a little this landscape and tries to zoom in, but it doesn't really do what I told it to. And then we have the second option. Let's call it the fun option. It had fun at least, which just zooms out and gets a pretty wild view of everything and invents up a different kitchen on the left, because why not? Because we're artificial intelligence, so we'll just make it up on the spot. So I wouldn't be able to show this to someone building their house because this will be so compromising and it will completely alter the design. So this is a firm no for me. But thank you, Sora, for the creation. Then we have the runway version. Now, the runway version looks pretty good, but it's sort of cheating because it is not doing the arc that I told it to. Instead, it is moving to the right, and yes, it provides quite a good look of the kitchen. So if you want to go ahead and just go for runway, this is a good one. And it even has that ambient light that I described, so good for it. The render version here seemed to start pretty well, but then it invented another kitchen on the left-hand side. So if we cutted this video like right here until here, it was doing perfect. However, just for this part, I'm reducing a lot of points. This goes right into the Sora category, like inventing something completely new that doesn't fit with the project. Because if I have a microwave here, why should I have another microwave there? So that's a no for me, but the textures, the lighting, and even the camera movement was well done. So this is Rent Air. Then we have Crea. Now, Crea is, I think, the only one that did exactly as I asked where the camera movement was concerned. So it really made that turn, in this case, like a 90-degree turn. And however, it got pretty confused where the microwave was concerned, because it sort of tried to move the microwave from one place to the other as if telling me, yes, I've listened to you, I've watched your original image, as if it was an architecture student really trying to impress the teacher, but it got confused. So, and also the lines move a little in this furniture. So I think it did really well with the ambient, but that part about the furniture can get you into trouble. So take that into account. And finally, this is clean version. Now, the clean version I think was pretty clean, and also it got a nice view of the kitchen. It didn't turn completely, but we could see the kitchen's furniture, and it was really good. Also, the ambient light was beautiful, and the landscape wasn't changed at all. So I think this is the best option where interiors are concerned, simply because it's a little bit conservative, it isn't changing the design, and it is adding the ambient light correctly as well as the furniture. So here you can see the 3 best options with Kling right at the top, and then I've added Crea and Runway simply because they were the most trustworthy, and they did listen to my prompt, which was to turn right with an arrow. Okay, so this one I added specifically because once upon a time I did have to do an image such as this one for an architectural contest. Now, this architectural contest was a public building, and my boss was always insisting that we had to add a lot of people because that was what the city council will want. So he wanted all this festivity, ambient, and a lot of people, and that's what we have in this image. So what I added as a prompt was this cinematic zoom-in shot toward the main entrance of a futuristic office building, dramatic wide-angle perspective, sleek glass and metal architecture, bright daylight. A large crowd of people in business attire. So this is very important because when you do a rendering with a lot of people, you do want them to look and feel as if they should be in the shot. Because if you have like a summer picture and you go there and put people with coats, it will seem pretty odd. So we wanted the people in the business attire, and I wanted fast motion blur around the frame. Why is that? Because I thought that the AI will perform better with this fast blur than if I tried it to include some slow motion or people walking normally. So that's a little bit of a trick. So dynamic energy, depth of the field, focus on the entrance. So this is the entrance, this is where I want you to zoom in, and motion trails and directional lines, and sunlight casting long shadows and cinematic composition. Now this one was even trickier because I decided to go ahead and put in a square picture because I wanted to see what the different artificial intelligences would do with a square picture such as this one. I didn't know if it will take the whole picture or if it will reduce it to the 9:16 option so that it will be more of a rectangle and fit in a video. So let's see what the different AIs did. So Sora normally gives me 2 options, and it either has a complete party, which was this one. This one took the zooming into the entrance way too seriously, and it did something kind of psychedelic with the zoom in, and it didn't even got into the door, but right on top of it, which was really odd. But it got the people right with the clothing and all of that. However, I couldn't put this into a contest at all. So that was one of the options. And the second option of Sora was this one, which really isn't moving at all, but it does add the nice touch of those people that come into the front plane dressed with the correct clothing, but it isn't zooming into the entrance. So good luck, Sora, with that. So then we have this runway option, which went wild with the people all moving around and didn't go zooming in into the building. So this is a no for me because it isn't doing what I asked it to. Even Sora tried that. Then we have Kling. Kling did not move at all and respected the square proportion of the original image. It did good with the people, with the trails and all that, but it isn't zooming in into the entrance either. Now, this is Crea's option and all will be good, but we have the camera going backwards instead of forwards, which was what I told it to do. So I think it is quite a good representation and it could be used, but you will have to put the video in reverse. Not bad at all here for Crea. So Runway here did pretty well. At least it's moving the camera towards the entrance. But as you can see, this AI tool is really conservative when moving the camera, because the less it moves the camera, the better option of it not deforming the building. So it stays conservative and doesn't do bad at all with the ambience and the people moving. And they also have the correct attire. If you stop the video, you will see that they are dressed as expected, but they are really blurry here. So not a bad option there to use Runway at all. And finally, we do have our winner here. I think that Render did marvelously here because it introduced some people who were just stopped there, not moving, as it would look in a real video with this fast motion. So that was a really nice touch. Then you have those people coming into you, where if you stop the video, you can see how they are dressed, and they are dressed correctly. Even if they do look a little odd, when you stop it, you can see that they are wearing formal attire. So, and then the most important part, it was the only one that actually got and zoom in into the entrance. It recognizes the entrance, which is a really, really nice touch. And I think that this video is top notch. From all of them, this is the one that looks better. It even has the glass reflexes and it has listened to the prompt. Even those figures on the second floor that you can see here, it isn't really clear whether they are people or plants, so it just lets them there static, because the other AIs did something really odd with that part above there. So here are the results, and the best three for me are Render without any doubt, then Runway, and finally Clink in this option. So, if you have arrived to this part of the video, if you love that I bring this artificial intelligence's video to keep up to date, please leave me an emoji down below on the comment section. It really helps the YouTube algorithm understand that these videos are good, so that it recommends it, and it also helps me understand whether you like or don't like these videos. So the final test is the hardest one. I had two images. This was the first one and this was the second one. And what I was trying to do is to have a complete, at least 90-degree rotation of the camera from one image onto the next, and I wanted the artificial intelligence to understand the geometry of the building. Now, for you as an architect, if you see what I was working with, this is the complete building. And I did the process of rendering this building, the whole of it, with Janus on this very channel. So if you want to take a look at that video, I'm leaving that right on top so that you can check it out. But for you, the geometry of this building, it might be obvious, all right? Like, yes, it's a building with an inclined roof, and there we have the opening of those windows, and then we have two patios there, and then on the other side we also have some openings. But for an AI, it's really difficult just with something like that and that other shot to connect those parts. So that was what I wanted to test out. And here we do have different parties going on, so I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so for Sora, my first shoot was this one. Okay, so what it did directly was to try to force the different images, but it did something odd in the middle, like introduce a wall there, and it skipped like mad. And this is because I tried to cheat with Sora, because normally AIs just will give you the option for 2 images, beginning and end, but I tried to force a middle image, which was this one, into Sora because it has the option to introduce different images on the way, not like the other AIs. But it didn't work out as I expected. Then we had Clink that looks something like that. It completely deformed the image. It tried to make sense of the angles, but forcing them to change into what it expected from the other image. So it is really, really terrible. It looks like an oniric dream. So you couldn't really be using this in any project. I even tried for Clean. I gave it a second chance, and this is what it did. So it just skipped from one image to the other without any regard of how these 2 images are connecting to each other. You could use both separately, yes, but you wouldn't be able to use it as a 90-degree change, which was what I wanted. Now, Runway didn't really include the option with 2 images, so it did something like this, staying conservative as you would expect from this AI, as you've seen from the other options. Then we have the Crea option. Now Crea was pretty wild here. It made the movement right on the other way that I wanted it to go. I wanted to go to the left side and it went to the right side, and it deformed the house in order for it to try to make sense for it. But if you just change the way, reverse the video, perhaps you will have something admissible from here. Like if you just change the way it moved and did something like that from here to there, it wouldn't look bad at all. But it completely ignored the elevation. So this is not bad, but it is ignoring the elevation, the final view. And I think that the only one that did this with a little bit of style was Render. Now this is the option that Render gave me. It tries to go back and change a little, and then it introduces the elevation in another different video. I think this is good enough because the human brain can really fill out those gaps. Even though it isn't trying to do the 90-degree angle, it's the one that stays face better here in this category. So overall in this category, I'll put Render in first place, then Sora with that cutout option, and finally Crea. But it was really fun to look at the different options that the different AIs were trying to get together. I think that yes, because of this one, we will be using traditional rendering tools for a while before this gets better. If you enjoyed this video, I'm quite sure that you will enjoy this whole list that we have here going about artificial intelligence for architecture. And please remember to subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. I'll see you on the next one.